In gripping a cube in the other direction, i.e. cube wise rather than diamond pointy shaped wires. So a cube. Some of this is going to be a bit Blue Peter, but I will turn as much as I can of one. You can turn one of these and not have the holes, or you can turn one with the holes. The holes is more of a challenge, so turning one with holes. That's the first one I ever did in Purple Heart. It took me about 3 weeks to do that because Purple Heart is really, really hard. This is one out the same wormy wood as the other coloured one with some of the marble effect spray on it just to hide some of the wormholes. So that's what they're going to look like, maybe. The key thing is, how do you grip one and what's the process of turning it. So this is, if you zoom out a little bit on the PTZ, just a bit. It's fine. Yeah. So these are record power button jaws, and I wanted to, I experimented with different ways of gripping the wood. I tried gripping it on some of my mega jaws with 2 jaws out so that it just clamped across it, which was an effective way of gripping, but of course it marks the wood. Didn't want to do that. I've also got the bigger Axminster jaws, button jaws, and they are fortunately interchangeable. These are all M6 screw holes in these and the Axminster ones. Don't know about Vicmart. So Axminster sell these additional little cups which have got little denty teeth on. You can stack them, they're called stack studs. You can stack them so that they are screwed in 1 at a time or 2 at a time so that they will grip. Again, they will grip, but you're only gripping a small part of it and it's going to dent the wood. The standard ones that you get, yeah, where am I? That's it. The standard ones on the record power look like this. That's that one or that one, but you only have a short bolt with it because the aim is that they just sit on here. In the past, I've tried to turn a cube just gripped with one of these, squished up with all 8 of them on there. It's not very successful. You only got to get the slightest of catches and the cube flies off. So I bought a different set of M6 bolts so that I can make different length legs. This one is got a 120mm bolt, I think, or 100mm bolt down the middle. These are plastic inserts that you use for plumbing when you're doing plastic 20mm pipes, and they need the joints to stiffen the joint up. So I thought something with a little bit of give would be useful. So I put the bolt through. These particular ones have got a recess, so there's a nut inside there, so that is all sandwiched up, and there's just enough length for it to screw in and give me the 4 for the grid. So I wanted to try and make sure that when I turn this, that the cube is just bigger, this one may or may not be, I can't remember now, is just bigger than the face. So I want to be able to squish this was experimentation, so to squish the wedgie shaped one down, so that is squished in there against the bottom, and that means I've got a solid grip, 2 points, and the grip is above where the bowls are going to be cut out, so that means that even when I've cut the bowls out, it's going to actually grip reasonably well. So you can obviously cut these, or I've also got some 20mm plastic electrical ducting that's also quite flexy. And that would work quite well as well, but it was a bit, the diameter of it was such that it was just a bit too big, and I wasn't sure I could get it squished down. So I'd probably use some of these and cut them down if I needed to do a smaller cube. So if I was to do...
Malcolm, does that bolt go right through into the jaws, or have you got a back bolt?
It's just screwed into the jaws and locked down. I cut these were coach bolts because they were the cheapest ones you could get from the tool station. So I can tighten it up with a screwdriver. I just did a hacksaw cut across the end here. You can spend more money on them, but these were like £2 for 8 or something or other, whereas some of them can be £1 each or something. And I'm wood turner, so I'm tight.
Going back to your original suggestion about the grip jaws, because I did one cube in the cube, and one of them, I used a large grip jaws. I used some 3mm thick foam PVC, wrap around the outside, and that meant that you weren't damaging the wood. You were gripping into foam.
Yeah, I did it similarly as a test. I used some 3mm ply and cut little strips. But I still found that it was fiddly because the 2 jaws meant that it wasn't self-centering.
I used all 4 jaws.
You used all 4, right? Yeah, yeah.
And then it worked. Yeah.
Well, that's the whole point about this. There are different ways of skinning the cat.
And an elastic band around all the bits of foam as well to keep them in place.
Right.
Before you put it in the shop, it just holds everything in place. You don't have to have 10 hands.
Well, that's possibly a better way of doing it. I don't know, because you can get more speed up. With this, you're limited to about 800 revs. So if you're going to do one of these, I fiddled around and on this, all right, there. On this size of wood, you have to work out how you're going to get these little circles appearing. So you need the bowl to be a big enough diameter so that when you do all of the quadrants, they overlap in the middle. So this one was a 70mm one. So what I've done is I've drilled holes on the bench press, 35mm in as a depth gauge on all 4 sides. Cut myself a little template because I thought I might make a few of these to flog, which is 70mm. Put the brad awl down the middle and centered the hole just to draw the holes as the guide. Makes it quite quick. I've got some different templates I've got for some slightly different diameter ones, different section ones, which I shall keep so that I don't have to keep reinventing the wheel. And then I've made myself a little template on the fret saw, scroll saw, so that as I cut it out, I've got a guide to make sure that I'm in the right place at the right time. It's 90 or 100, I'm not quite sure. It's about 95, this particular one. So I'll settle that in. And that gets it quite a nice solid. We'll put the elbow bodger in. Somebody trying to assassinate me. Right. So basically, it's just turning bowls. I'll see how bored we get, and then it might be a Blue Peter moment. Now that's always interesting. Every time I've done these, the end view, you might be able to see, I don't know whether you can zoom in a bit now on the PTZ. that the circle is no longer concentric because it all just finds its own level. So I'm setting this to about 600 or 700 revs. It's good practice for turning small bowls. Got quite an uneven face, so I'm just going to skim that. When you've done this, you can actually end up with it also on the belt sander, just to actually sort out the lack of squareness. It's all down to not putting it through a planer thickness, as I say, because I don't have one. I've now removed my pencil line, so tool butt right over so that you're actually rubbing the bevel. Sorry, if somebody else can control the camera when I'm turning, so the bevel is rubbing here. This is again cedar on this one, the Cedar of Lebanon. It's just because I've got a reasonable amount of it. So you need to be right over here because the bevel has to be a tangent to the face. As you come round, you will get a bit of chatter if you're not careful because the bevel is lifted off the wood. If there's any doubt that it's moved, which it has a little bit, give it a bit of a tap. That's where your jaw gripping will probably give you a better finish. Yeah, could still do with a little portable light that shines down the middle because it's in your own shadow. I'll do a couple and try to get to the point where there's a hole appearing, and then we'll see what we do. Just use my round nose carbide just to dust the bottom off. Doesn't give as good a finish as the bowl gouge, but I'll say this is not being finished because in a demo you want to get on with it rather than. Yes, yeah, and as you go round and you get more holes appearing, it gets progressively more difficult to do any sort of machine sanding. This would also be best if it's sanded at this point because you sand it, then you turn it and you make a mess of it and you've got to go back and do it again. So, but if you don't there'll be some parts that if you don't sand it now, you can't easily sand it later. I just don't want to do any sanding if I can. High tech. Now, you should start to see the first hole appearing. It starts to get exciting.
ahead on yours? That hole?
I have to say I tend not to because I forget to realign the centres. And you wonder, why the hell can't my pen turn properly? Yeah, if it's a big one, I will. The little ones, not so much. Get quite a lot of bounce across the hole. That's all right. Well, you've seen a hole. I'm going to do another one now. So you've got another hole. You can't do these above 800. They're not safe. They, I mean, you can't. Well, that's what the manufacturers say, 600. So I do 800, give or take. Yeah, could do it 1300. Do you want to come over here and hold my skirt? Yeah. I mean, I think because this is a stronger grip with this double doodad compared to the normal little button jaws, you probably could turn it up a bit more. At some point, you end up with the last one. And at some point, you wish you weren't doing it. They can fly across the room. There's the hole. Nobody's actually asked whether the first one that I said I did, which a number of you would have seen, whether I did that deliberately or whether the little holes were a mistake because I didn't measure what I was doing, and I would never ever give you the right answer to that question.
You ever tried using a larger sort of French curve type shape scraper?
Yeah, I have, and it works. They'll all, I mean, the thing that you really need is for it to be running at about 1500 revs or something. But I found a negative rate scraper on this wood just seems to work quite well. I mean, I've got a regular scraper here. I'll stick that in a second and just see what it does. So, negative rake scraper that I've ground myself.
Can you, is that easy enough to do, just wind the top?
Yeah, it was a half moon to start with, so I ground the side out. What I tend to do when I sharpen it now on the Pro Edge is just hone the top effectively on this loose bit where the belt hasn't got a backing plate, and that just quickly dusts up the edge. So that works quite nicely. We get probably a better finish, to be honest. Not as quick, but a better finish, I think. That'll do. Didn't want to bore you. But it looks like we're going to do this one fully live then. Oh, it's exciting, isn't it? As I think I said earlier on, there are lots of different ways you can do it. This is just a way that I've, to be honest, just invented. I don't think anybody else I've seen has done that with the button jaws. Probably they have in America. But holy cube, Batman. It's 70mm, so that's a semicircle, 35mm, and the guide holes were 35mm deep to start with, so that I think the first ones I didn't do that, and I just eyeballed it, and it took me ages. So it certainly speeds it up. Probably if you're only doing one, it doesn't, but it speeds it up if you're going to do more than one. That's the bounce. Across the edge, there's another. Right, okay. Ding. Get in there, aren't we? Just think, it saved you 300 quid not having Colwyn Way doing it. Because the wood is weak, this is probably not the time to hurry too much and find that there's the hole. Yep. Oh, it's gone right through. Oh! So this one,
What have you done there? You too big a template?
yeah. Yeah. Take it and pass it round if you can. I won't go any further because the centre will become completely devoid of any reality. Probably the cube is 95mm, whereas this one's 100, and it makes a couple of mil difference. It obviously can get exciting more quickly than I'd expected it to. But that's why I had this one here, so that there's the hole. Half a millimetre makes it a big difference in whether you see the holes or the holes see you. Right, let's put the scrape around that. And then, what I experimented with on this one was drilling a hole right through the middle. These are from a tool reclaim place in Chesham, a Morse taper engineering drills. They make for quite good, easy This is going to get quite thin and scary because the wood is really quite weak. Because the holes are going to need some love in order to get them symmetrical. So you can just go around with a little Dremel and sort the holes out, or this is Ryobi 4-volt system, as tested and demonstrated by me for Ryobi. Yes, or use one of these jobbies and go around and sort out the holes to make them sort of uniform and whatever size you think you want them to be. Try and make them as smooth as possible. Let's drill the last hole through and you can all have a look at it. Yes.